Welcome to the Intuitive Inc. radio show live with your host, Servet Hassan, with another inspiring author who can help you discover your true potential. Live on Clear Source Radio.
Hello, everybody. It's Sunday night. The name of the show is Intuitive Inc., and I am indeed Servet Hassan still. And we've got a really good show for you tonight. I always say that, but this one's fascinating. We're going into the holiday season. It's December already, people. Can you believe that? And it's Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah to all my Jewish friends out there. It's a beautiful time of year. And then we're going into many other holidays here, and I celebrate and give thanks to all of them and appreciate all of them. And so this time we're going to be talking to somebody today about how she found her faith. And that's important this time of year. It's important any time of year, but particularly now. So I have brought her on the show for that particular reason. Her name is Sharon Geyer. She grew up in Southern California. She was one of 6 children, and her journey actually started in about 1963 when she met a man, and he was Iranian, and then she went off with him to Teheran, and the adventure began. And that is really what her book is about. Her book is called Daughter of Jerusalem, An American Woman's Journey of Faith. Sharon Geyer, welcome to the show. Hi.
Thank you, Servet. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Servet.
Thank you for doing this. It's a Sunday night. It's time away from your family. I truly appreciate it. And your book is fascinating. It's a memoir, and it's a true story. It's a memoir, right?
Yes.
And it really blows you away because there's something going on every other minute. It's like you had quite a journey. And I imagine most people's journeys of faith are. It's a journey, it's a process for all of us, including myself. But you had the adventure of a lifetime, though. So I don't want to give away the story. I want people to read, buy the book. But it really does kind of read like a novel, actually. Mm-hmm.
Well, I am a novelist, and in writing the memoir, I use the techniques of creative nonfiction, dialogue, suspense, and so forth. Narrative. So that's why it does read like a novel, but every bit of it is true.
I know, and I love that. And I love that it reads like a novel because you get into the story and you can't put it down. Mm-hmm. So I really love that part about it. So first of all, let's start at the beginning, okay, because this goes back to when you were, very young and naive and you had no idea what you were doing. But before I go into the actual story, because it's fascinating and it was really kind of really suspenseful, but what made you decide to actually put it down in words? What made you decide to do the book about it?
Well, I was taking courses at ASU, getting my degree in English literature, and I took a creative writing course. And we had to write a vignette of something true. And I wrote a little tiny 3-page story about my Persian Muslim mother-in-law called Mama Badri. And it was a very sweet story about her. I called her the angel in polyester. And when I wrote that, then I realized that, well, I've actually started a memoir here. And then I just kept adding chapters. And before I knew it, I had an entire book. Wow. However, it wasn't the first book. I wrote a novel first, and then the memoir came second.
Okay. Well, that's why this one reads like a novel, because you started with a novel. It's fun because they're 2 different animals. I write nonfiction. I've published 3 with Llewellyn Worldwide Publishers, and it's like it's a whole other animal to write a novel than it is nonfiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you did it well. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. You had no idea that you would get trapped, right?
No, I eloped with this man that I fell in love with, and I was in it for the long haul. We ended up going back to his country to live in Iran. I had no idea one, that once I was there, I couldn't leave. And two, I had no idea how mentally unbalanced my husband was until I actually got there.
Right.
And then it was too late. I couldn't leave without his permission or without police permission.
Right.
And I was stuck.
Yeah, for people that don't know, even to this day, it's very difficult if you're married to leave some of those countries without permission from your husband. If you're married, it's still that way.
That's right. You need written permission from your husband, and you need also at that time, under the regime of the Shah, you needed permission from the police also. And, of course, my passport had been confiscated, so there was no way I was going to leave on my own steam and return to America. No.
Right. And a divorce is very difficult, too. Also, I was born in Pakistan, and I grew up in a Muslim household. I'm not Muslim, but my parents are. And a couple of my brothers are, too. So I know that world. And sometimes they just kill you instead. So it's like
yes. That's the easier alternative. Although, while I was in Iran, this is during the time of the Shah. The Shah's newest wife, or his second or third wife, Farah, was a wonderfully liberal woman, and she helped pass a law in the parliament that women could ask for a divorce. And so I was one of the first women at the courthouse to ask for a divorce. And it did wind its way into the court, and the judge tried to do like family counseling. And he says, go back and try to work it out. And in 6 months, come back to me if things aren't better. He didn't grant the divorce. Well, in 6 months, things were terrible. In 6 months, I was in prison. So, but there was a chance. A tiny sliver of chance that I could have got the divorce in Iran, but I would never got custody of my children.
Well, yeah, that's right. And you didn't at that time anyway, even when you left, right?
No.
Yeah, so for the book is really fast. That what adds to the book here is that to your whole life story actually is that there are children involved. There are two sons involved, and there's nothing that, as a mother myself, that's more heart-wrenching than being separated from your children.
Yes, that was a terrible choice. Well, I really didn't have a choice because I was deported, but I had to live all those years hoping and dreaming we'd be reunited quickly, and we were not. It took 10 years before I saw them again.
Right.
That's why, as you say, it's a journey of faith. When I went to Iran, I was a nominal Christian with, very, very little conviction one way or the other. I was very happy to marry a Muslim man. Didn't bother me. And when I found myself in such a desperate situation, emotionally and physically, and as a mother, I had to find some kind of solace or some kind of comfort, lest I kill myself.
Right.
And that's when I began searching for God. Who are you out there? Is there a God out there? And I had nowhere to. I just cried out to the universe, so to speak, to begin with.
And I think your grandmother at one point.
Well, yeah,
read that in there.
It did start because I, having no faith at that point at all, I stood out in the garden by myself crying, and I said, Grandmother, if you're out there in the heavens, please send me help. And that was my plea because I didn't believe in God even then. So Grandmother did respond and I think had a word with God.
I read the book here because I remember you said something like you didn't believe in a personal God at that point. That certainly one that doesn't answer prayers, and you still
right.
You were in such a state that you decided to call on Grandma, and she came through. Yay!
Yes, thank you. She not immediately though. Some months, years passed. Mm-hmm. And things got worse. And I decided to intellectually find God or find some solution. And I figured it wasn't in Christianity because I thought I knew that, having grown up in a nominally Christian home. So I began looking through Judaism and Islam and Zoroastrianism, which is a big religion in Iran. It used to be, and I would interrogate my friends who were Jewish or Zoroastrian or Muslim, and I keep asking them, tell me what you know about God personally, and none of them could answer me that they knew God personally. They just gave me rules and regulations. So I did a search, not very scientifically, but just personally, and I asked some Christians who were there. They were like businessmen. They had their family over there and so forth, and these people answered me in a way that I knew that they knew God personally. And they said, you'll find God in the Bible, and you'll find him through Jesus. Well, I didn't swallow that whole, but I said, okay, let's see where this will take me.
Wait, let me interrupt you for 1 second. At this point, did it not, your husband, because I'm surprised your husband wasn't pressuring you, or the family wasn't pressuring you to become, to take Islam, to become Muslim. That didn't happen?
No, not at all. My husband didn't really practice. His mother did. She prayed 5 times a day and kept all the rules of what they would call kosher in Judaism, ritually washing everything. But no, a wife in Islam, a Muslim man can marry a woman of any faith. Then it doesn't matter. Now, a Muslim woman cannot marry a man out of the Muslim faith. So it really didn't matter if a wife did or didn't. And I wasn't pressured to become a Muslim, and I never told my husband or anyone in his family what my secret search was. They had no idea what I was searching for.
Okay, I just want to get clear on that. So, you go back to the story because I was, I was a little surprised by that when I read the book. I was like, they weren't pushing you. So a lot of Muslim families feel like they don't want you if you're not gonna, So at that point, you did it secretly, then. Yes.
And as being in a Muslim culture, I couldn't go anywhere where alone without my husband, where other men would be, like mixed parties or social groups. But I could go with my husband's full approval to an afternoon tea with ladies once a week or once a month. And that's where they actually held a Bible study, and then they would have tea and cake. So I just told them I'm going for tea and cake, and that was that. So he never knew what I was actually exposing myself to.
Good. Yeah. So these ladies were doing then kind of like a Bible study.
Yes, they had a Bible study in their home. It would sometimes switch to different homes. They were Americans mostly and other expatriates from England or whatever. There was a big presence of Americans in Iran there then because of the military was there. The Air Force, American Air Force had a base there. Anyway, there were all these Americans there, and I would go for the tea and Bible study.
Right, but you said at that point, somewhere around there in the book, you said that it actually annoyed you.
Yes, the first, I remember the first study we were doing the Old Testament. It was about, I believe it was Hannah or Rebecca, but anyway, it was one of these old biblical women who couldn't get pregnant. And I said, what's this got to do with us now? Who cares about this Sarah or this Rebecca? And I thought, this is silly stuff, and when's the tea and cake going to be served? That's basically what I was interested in. But because I was so desperate and hungry for some friends speaking in English. Now, I lived in a Muslim home with my in-laws and brother and sister-in-law. They all spoke Farsi. I was just barely learning it. I was so isolated that I was glad just to get out of the house and be amongst English speakers for a few hours a week. And so that's how it began. And just slowly I began to change. Mm-hmm. Nothing really changed in my marriage. It got worse and worse and worse, and my husband got sicker and crazier, and I had a job. I had to work. I had to support us because he couldn't work, and I had a job at the UN as a secretary bookkeeper. Mm-hmm. And a very good job, by the way. The UN takes care of their own people very well.
That's nice.
Give them a little plug there for nothing else but that. But right. And while I was there, I was still just in despair, though, about my home life. And I went into the bathroom, the ladies' room, locked the door, and I said, God, what do I do? And I remembered I had some little ratty old tract in my purse that someone had given me, and it was all messed up and bunged up, and I pulled it out and I read it, and it said, just ask God into your life, ask Jesus into your life, ask him to forgive you and for your sins. And I said, well, I don't have any sin, but I'll ask him anyway. I was really very naive and very
well, you were young, too. Don't forget.
I was young. I was still just in my early 20s.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did that little prayer and went back to my desk and went to work, and nothing changed. But over a period of months, I realized something had really changed in me. And without any big to-do, I had become a believer.
Okay.
And I felt hope for the first time.
Good. But define believer. What does that word mean to you?
Oh, okay. That's a big word, yeah. Mm-hmm. I say believer because all my years in Israel, we would never say we were Christians. We always said we were believers. Believers in God, believers in Jesus. But it means that you have accepted, when I say I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, in his death and resurrection, and his atonement has made me one and acceptable to God. So it's a belief in the cross. You can't leave out the cross. So I accepted that, really not understanding it at all or fully or even halfway, but I accepted that, and gradually, through faith and through books and things that I read, I began to understand more fully what I believed and what I had accepted. But in the meantime, my home situation got worse and worse and worse. It didn't make things better at all. It got grimmer, and anyway,
right.
I had reached a terrible point.
Yeah, they can buy the book to find out the details, because we want to give it all away here. So yeah, absolutely, it was terrible. And then, but you still continued to search and to find answers, and then this led you to being deported eventually, right?
Well, actually, no, I was not put in jail and deported for my beliefs. Directly.
No, right.
My husband, he was very angry with me, and he was paranoid, and he thought I was fooling around with the garbage man and the milkman and the dustman and everyone at the UN and so forth. So he had me arrested and put in prison. And all it takes in a Muslim country is the husband just to say she's done wrong, adulteress, and they arrest her. So I was in prison for that. And I was very fortunate that I had friends who immediately came to the prison and began to, on my behalf, speak to the warden to try to get me out of there quickly. Mm-hmm. And they did. I got paroled into their care. I had to go live in their house until a court date was set. And at the court, do you want me to just go ahead with this, or let people read the book?
I want them to read the book, but the general idea here is that you had to leave, and you had to leave without your children. And that is devastating. I don't care. I mean, that's got to be like losing your heart, So, and I think you said at some point, I think it was probably when you got back to the United States, because you came back to your mother, which is what most people do. And you're still in your you're still young. And you said, I think, I exist only in my own head. And I wrote that down because that was an interesting statement on your part. And, you've been through so much, and then you came back and you don't even know if you're real anymore, right?
Yes. It was a terrible time. In the book, I quoted something from the Bible, and I was actually at the Western Wall praying, and this is what came to me. This is a quote from the Old Testament. Rachel, weeping for her children and cannot be comforted, for they are not. And so the wound of not having my children with me, year after year after year, just that didn't heal. That just was incurable.
Right. Yeah, and you can't go back and change that either. But in the meantime, it strengthened you and your faith, and you kept going, because I think, at some point you said that, like you said, being a believer, I think, is about not just the crucifixion, it's also about the resurrection. So in theory, in my experience, salvation always means that there's some kind of transformation taking place, whatever faith you are. So your transformation was not exactly positive to start with, but it was leading you in a direction, because once you came home, then you couldn't, you couldn't stay there. You went off and studied further, right?
Well, yes, and actually the title of my memoir, Daughter of Jerusalem, is an important title, because there I was in Iran with two beautiful boys, Iranian citizens, and a husband who had me deported. And the plane that was I left Iran on, the first place it landed was Tel Aviv. In those days, they couldn't fly transcontinental. They had to stop and fuel up everywhere. And I took a few days off the plane and went up to Jerusalem. And while I was there, I had a supernatural experience where I heard God say, "This is your home." Now, I had no connection to Judaism or Israel. I had just escaped Iran with my life and was hoping my children would soon be reunited with me. And God tells me, "This is going to be your home. You will come back here." So within a year or two, I did go back. I took a one-way ticket from America to Jerusalem. And one, it was a calling from God, supernatural. And two, it was as close as I could get to Iran.
Right.
And still, I felt that closeness. I mean, I felt I was closer there than I would be in America.
Were you able to see them when you were in Israel?
No, I even couldn't even talk to them. I would call my husband on the phone. In those days, from Jerusalem to Teheran, it would be routed through Japan and all over the country and world, and then I could talk to him, but he wouldn't put the boys on the phone, the oldest one, and so I accepted that. For 10 years, I never talked to them, but I could send them letters, and I could send them gifts, and I send them clothes, and mothers, you send underwear, and I sent books and things like that. But no, I had no contact with them for 10 years.
Wow. That's hard. That's really hard.
Yeah.
So you did do that, but there was a little brief interlude before you got back to Israel. You went, I think, to Texas. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is because part of your journey of faith included spiritual discernment. And I wanted you to elaborate on that a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. I went to Texas, Waco, Texas, where I knew some Christians. Actually, I had met them in Iran, believe it or not, and they recommended I go there to study the Bible further at a little church in Waco. And it was a wonderful place. I had a year, almost 2 years there, really getting deep into the Bible. And while I was there, though, I had these experiences with, I don't know how much you want me to go into that, but where I was beginning to learn how to discern between evil spirits and good spirits. And I'll give you an example. At the church one day, they had a visiting missionary from Africa, a white American woman, and she wanted to preach. And the pastor said, no, you can give a greeting, but you cannot preach. I do the preaching. Well, she kept trying to take over the microphone and preach, and he yelled at her to sit down. And while she was talking, before he made her sit down, I felt like I should get up and run out of the church. She scared me so badly. Later, I asked the pastor's wife what made me want to run. And she said, oh, Sharon, she's just full of evil spirits, and you discerned it, but you didn't know what to do. So you wanted to run. Now, the pastor knew what to do. He just told her to sit down and shut up.
Right.
Well, and then that went on all through my experience in Israel and so forth, where I could discern the presence of between good and evil in certain people, but unfortunately, I can say, looking back on my life, I never really knew what to do with that. I don't know if I was very of any use to God or man with that gift.
Well, I think it helped you pursue your own faith. I mean, I think it's everything's really about what's happening to us internally anyway.
Yes, that's right. I think it was protected me a lot.
Yes. And
and I must say, Israel attracts every crazy in the world.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure
they get everybody.
But I did know there was another line in the book there when you did get to Israel where you said, "I wish I could stay here forever. This is my home." You knew immediately that
I knew that, and I was there for close to 15 years, and I still yearn to go back. I still yearn to go back. That's where I want to die, in Jerusalem.
Wow. Okay, we're going to talk about that, but believe it or not, Sharon, we are halfway through the show. So we have been on the line with Sharon Geyer, who's written a book called Daughter of Jerusalem, An American Woman's Journey of Faith. It is a true story of her fascinating journey, not only of her life, but of her journey in faith, but, all of the experiences that made her who she is today, most of which happened when you were younger. But then, it's a journey that continued later because you had children involved here. Now, where can people find the book if they want to?
They can get Daughter of Jerusalem from Amazon, or any bookstore can order it, or there's even websites like eBay, you can sell it, or they could write to me directly, give me a notice on Facebook, and I can sell them a copy.
Okay. So how are you on Facebook? Do you know your Facebook address? Or should they just... Okay, so they should just look up...
Yeah,
Sharon Geyer.
Sharon Alice Geyer.
Yeah, and I'm going to spell your last name. It's Geyer. It's a really fascinating book, and you started out trying to be a nurse in Israel, actually, but you ended up being a writer. So I think God knew what he was doing there, because you're a good one, and you're writing other books, which we will also talk about. But first of all, I just want to say that if anyone has a question about Sharon's faith or her journey, and or their own faith, if you're brave enough, call in. 'Tis the season, and no, I'm not going to sing because I know don't run away. Come back. I'm not going to sing. I promise. It's a fascinating story, and I really encourage you to buy this book. It's interesting. It doesn't matter what your faith is. It's just the process, the journey. And that's kind of what it's all about in the end. And I love the way you told yours. Sharon, were you not at any point in time when you were writing this or after you wrote this book, were you not afraid that your husband might come back and with the wrath of God and try to, because of it? Were you not afraid?
Well, no, the publisher asked me to change his name, which I did. Mm-hmm. So, in case he wanted to sue us. Mm-hmm. And a few people in the book in Teheran asked me to change their names, which I did for their privacy and protection. But no, my husband never read the book, and up until the time he died. And the truth is, my sons, who I've been reunited with, and we're close now, very close. They're here in America, married with our beautiful grandchildren, but my sons have never read the book either. And that's not uncommon for people who write memoirs. Their family usually do not read it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I just got a caller who did not call in, but who texted in from Phoenix, Arizona. So let's see what she wants to know. She wants to know what happened with her two boys. Where are they? So you were just saying that. So she texted that, right? Where here's another call coming in. Hold on 1 second. We'll see if we can't get you. If you go away, come back. Okay, Sharon? Here we go.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. This is Lisa. And
hi, Lisa.
I've been enjoying listening to you and Sharon. And I'm just curious if Sharon feels that she may evolve into yet a different religion in the future.
Okay, Sharon, are you still on the line? I don't know where she went. Hold on 1 second. Okay. If we cannot find her, we will hang up. See, this isn't doing it. Hold on. Let's see.
Okay.
No, I don't know where she went. I'm going to hang up with you, and I will ask her that question. Okay. So stay listening, and we will get her back, okay?
I will. Okay,
thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Okay. Hello, Sharon. Are you there, Sharon? Sharon, are you there? We have lost Sharon. Hold on. Sharon, are you there? Sharon? Hello? 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 Hello, Sharon. We have lost Sharon. So I guess when we picked up the call from the caller, Sharon went missing. So we will just stay on the line here and have her come back. One question was about where are her two boys now? And the other question is, would she evolve into another religion? Those are both really good questions. But first we need to get her back on the phone. So I don't know where she is. So let's try to get her. Hopefully she will call back. I cannot find her. Let's see what we can do here. It's a really good book, you guys. It's a fascinating memoir. So I can't figure out where she went. I think maybe her line is, I don't see her. It's the numbers right here. 28. Let's see. Please call back, Sharon. I don't know where she went to. Let's try her on a cell phone and see if we can't get her on that way. And have her call back in. Oh, there. She's not answering. Oh, my. Okay.
Hello?
Sharon, can you call back on the studio line?
Yeah, okay.
We lost you.
Oh.
Okay,
oh,
bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Have you got me now?
No, you're on my cell phone. You need to call back the studio line, 949. Okay, 313. Okay, bye.
Okay.
Bye. There we go, guys. It's live radio. All kinds of fun stuff going on here. Hang on, though, because those are two good questions, and she's going to call right back in, and I know we'll get her. And we're running short on time for any other questions. If you have a question, text me 949-735-3983. That'd be great. she's supposed to call back in and she's not. Maybe I will have to sing. No, she will though, I'm sure. Hold on. Okay, dokie. No call here. Okay. All right. Well, the name of the book, Daughter of Jerusalem, An American Woman's Journey of Faith. I mean, when you're that young, you really don't really know what you're doing. And then to have that happen to you. Okay. Let's see if I can't get her some other way. Oh, here she. No, that's not her. That's another caller. Let's see if we can't get her back again. Let's try her on the phone again. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can't do this. We're running out of time, so we want to get those questions answered. And you need to know what else she's working on, too, because she's a great writer. So let's see. Here we go. And no answer now on the phone in her home either. Okay. Nope. Okay. Hopefully she'll call back in. I don't know where she went or why she's not calling back, but there is no call coming in. So hopefully there's, sometimes people have cell phones too that just, here she goes. Here we go. There you are. Hello.
I'm back.
We lost you. Okay. We had some great, that's fine. This is live radio and that stuff happens. So I think and people, cell phones do funny things too. So we had two really interesting questions. One was the caller from Phoenix. She wanted to know where your boys are now. And the second question I got, which was really fascinating, was how would you ever evolve, do you think, into another religion?
Okay, let me answer first the one about the boys. Mm-hmm. We were reunited in California 10 years later. My oldest boy, on his 18th birthday, he left Iran the same night that Khomeini flew in and took over the country and shut the border. So he got out just in time, and he came to California when he was 18. My second son, when he was 12, he was still in Iran, and there was this horrific war between Iraq and Iran that went on for years, and Khomeini was using 12-year-old boys to clear landmines. He gave them a little green key, and he said, "This is your ticket to heaven." And anyway, my husband was smart enough. He was crazy, but he wasn't stupid. He was smart enough to get out of the country with his 12-year-old son on a medical excuse. He went to Europe, and then they came on to America. So we were reunited. We didn't live together. They still lived with their father, but we had a wonderful reunion, and I have to say the bonds between mothers and children really cannot be broken. They can be strained, but they cannot be broken. And so we had a real bond, but they continued to live with their father, and I went back to live in Israel. They're now grown. They turned out to be wonderful, wonderful young men of great character and strength and intelligence. Of course, every mother says that, but They are. They married, both of them married an American, and I have two beautiful grandsons, two beautiful granddaughters. They live in California, and we see each other and, celebrate holidays together and so forth. We don't discuss the past. They've not read my memoir. They have loyalty to their father, and they have love for him, and they have love for me, and that's all I ask. I don't ask them to renounce their father or anything like that.
Well,
so they're here living a wonderful life in America.
He since passed away, you said, right? Correct?
Yes. We divorced after 20 years of legally being married. He passed away about 5 or 6 years ago, and And the boys, live in California and are doing very well.
Good, good. That's lovely to hear. It is. It's really nice.
Yes.
Now, the second question came from, the second question was, would you evolve into another religion? Would you ever think that?
No, I cannot ever imagine that happening because I was exposed to so many different forms of belief while I was in Iran and in Israel. And in none of them I found a living hope, which I have found in Christianity through Jesus, a living hope and a atonement through the cross. I am not, though, a traditional Christian in any sense. I call myself a Messianic, charismatic, Pentecostal, born again believer, and that kind of makes me a square peg in a round hole, even in the churches here in America. My second husband, who I met in Israel, we've been married for 32 years. The two of us are believers in Jesus,
right.
But we're not traditional Christians in the way that most Americans are, and we're a little bit out of place.
Well, explain briefly.
We try to keep a low profile, but we're a little out of place even in the Christian community.
That's fine. I think everyone should practice their faith how it fits. But explain that just a little bit. Just what do you mean? Do you not go to church? Do you?
No, we do. We do go to church. My husband was raised Catholic, and we were married in the Catholic Church in a beautiful basilica in Jerusalem. But we don't attend the Catholic Church here, except for when our granddaughters are being raised Catholic. We go to their confirmations and their events at the church. But we're comfortable. We can go to Mass, but we're more comfortable in a evangelical church right now, Calvary Chapel. We're not members. We don't belong. We don't join it, and they don't ask you to.
Mm-hmm.
But we have deep roots still in Israel. My husband's an archaeologist, and we go there often, and we. In my time in Israel, before I married, the second time I was with what they call Messianic Jews, and that's another whole whole category of Christendom. So
right. Right.
But I feel comfortable with, my sons were ostensibly Shiites, and I don't know, they don't consider themselves that now, but I mean that's what they were brought up in, and I'm very proud of them, and they're just very upright, good men.
Are they?
And,
is your husband still Catholic?
Yes.
No, that's fine.
If you're born into it, you can't leave it. I kind of, because I wasn't born into it, voluntarily joined, and I kind of voluntarily jumped out of it too. But
right, I get
no offense to any Catholics here.
No, I understand that. I have some friends that call themselves on their own. They use this term about themselves for themselves. They call themselves cafeteria Catholics. And so they can't be offended if I repeat it because they say it themselves. So I understand what you're saying when you say that, and I totally get that. So it's an interesting. Now, are you still, that I would imagine having gone on this journey, which you probably still are on. I mean, we have to admit that this is a process that you really don't, I think there was a point in your life where you did say that, I think it was because you were speaking in tongues, and you said, now I know my heart is fixed, and that you couldn't turn back.
Yes. That, and that's interesting you say that, because I very seldom ever pray in tongues, but in Teheran at some point after I became a believer, but the circumstances were just so harsh and cruel that I was going to give up everything, all faith. I just didn't. If God was there, I couldn't see him. And I said, I could see the devil in my life, but I can't see God. I was about to I went to the Bible study with all the ladies and the tea and cake and everything, and I wanted to tell them, don't pray for me because I don't believe anymore. I'm so sorry. But when I opened my mouth to basically announce that I believed, out of my mouth came words, unknown words, tongues. I couldn't believe it. I said, where's that coming from? Who's that talking? It was me speaking in tongues, and then tears just rolling down my face. So I knew that God knew I was at the end of my rope, and I needed a supernatural something to pull me back, which it did, because I didn't do that voluntarily. And also at one of those meetings, too, something very supernatural happened. I had arranged with a smuggler to smuggle me and my children out. A German man promised he could get me out through the Afghan border. I, of course, so naive, didn't think that he would require me to smuggle drugs or anything, but that was probably the plan. But anyway, I was ready to do that within just days, and a woman at that Bible study that I didn't even know, a visitor, she looked at me and she said, Sharon, what you're about to do, don't do it. And I knew, she knew exactly what I was planning and that God had warned me. And so I dropped that plan. I didn't meet the German. I didn't let him take me and my boys across the border, which would have probably ended in disaster. And again, I said, well, God sees what I'm doing. And it wasn't God's will that I be the mother that I wanted to be. And that's to this day, that's a regret, but I have to accept it as, that wasn't in God's plan for me. And it is part of the suffering that everyone goes through, some kind or another. This happened to be my cross to bear, so to speak.
Right. We're running out of time, so I am just going to let everybody know we're on the line with Sharon Geyer. It's Geyer. The name of the book is Daughter of Jerusalem, An American Woman's Journey of Faith. And what a journey it was, let me tell you. So, and you can get the book anywhere. You can get the book on Amazon and any online other places. And you can find Sharon on Facebook. She's in California, in Southern California. And that's how you spell her last name, Geyer, and Sharon Alice Geyer, actually. Sharon, do you think now that you have a personal relationship after all these years with God?
Oh, more than ever. Yes, I do. It hasn't faded. It has gotten stronger. But it's something you work at. It's something you yearn for and desire, and it comes through being in touch with God through the Word, through reading the Bible, Old and New Testament, the old prophets of the Jewish prophets and the Psalms of David speak to us now as they did in days past. The New Testament, I'm always learning something new. I still feel myself a beginner on the path of faith.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I said it's a process. I think
it is it's a lifelong process,
right? And
you go through highs and lows, and sometimes you go through really, in America it's so easy. Life is so easy, compared to life in the Middle East or even in Israel. Life isn't that easy, and it's easy here. So when you're here, you don't have to in America. You don't have to depend on God for your very survival, whereas you do in other parts of the world. But so it's a bigger challenge here to not let materialism and comfort and ease just, choke up your spiritual life.
Right. I want to ask you what else you're working on. But before I do that, what advice would you give someone that's struggling with finding their faith that was maybe at that place where you were back then, a very long time ago, when you said, this is just annoying me. Just, where's the cake? Give me the cake. What advice would you give someone?
Don't ever despair that there's no hope for your future. There is hope for everyone's future. God has a plan for everyone, and it's a plan for good. And God wants to meet you personally. And you can start out with a generic God. You don't have to call him by name in the beginning because you don't know his name. And God has ways if anyone just says, oh, help me, God, he has ways of reaching you through circumstance, through people, sometimes if necessary through miracles, but and he will reach you. He will reach you. It takes just a little cry from the heart.
Right.
And he'll respond.
Right. I think it comes down to, it's not what will God do. It's what do you believe he can do? You know, he can do anything. So it's like, what are you going to allow in with that?
Right. But in the beginning, our belief in what we think he can do is so limited that we don't allow him to do much. And it takes a lifetime to grow in your belief that all things are possible.
Right. I remember reading somewhere, somebody said that it's like going to the ocean for water, but all you bring with you is a thimble. You know,
right.
I remember reading it somewhere, and I remembered that because it's true. So we're running out of time, Sharon. The show's almost over. See how fast it goes. I want to know before we go though. Just a couple more minutes here. What else are you working on? What happened to you after you tried to be a nurse in Israel, but the language, you went to a kibbutz, you tried to learn language, and you didn't do that. You came back and you went to Arizona State University and became an English major, and now you're a writer and have been all these years. Are you working on other books?
Yes, I am. I've written 3 books. A series. It's called the Samson Option series. They're all available on Amazon. The Samson Option is book 1. The Time of Jacob's Trouble would be book 2. And The Return of the Mahdi, M-E-H-D-I, the Mahdi is book 3. All 3 of these are available. They're a series. I am fascinated and maybe even compelled and possessed by a desire to write about the Persian or the Muslim Messiah called the Mahdi. He's the mirror image of Jesus Christ. He's a real theological and actual figure in their world and in their theology. The Muslim world, especially in Iran, they yearn for his return the way that Christians yearn for Jesus to return, and the Jews yearn for the Messiah to come. They yearn for the Mahdi. So I've written 3 thrillers based on that concept that there is a figure out there. My hero, my protagonist, is an infant born during the 6-Day War in Israel, abandoned. He grows up on a kibbutz, and when he's adult, the Mahdi Brotherhood thinks he is the reincarnation of the Mahdi. And so on that premise, that slender premise, I've written 3 books. They're all published and available. And now I'm writing the 4th and last, I hope the last. It's 25 years later. He's disappeared. My protagonist has disappeared. His daughter's grown up, and he doesn't know what happened to him or who he is. Is he dead or alive? And the 4th book is about her journey.
Oh, wow.
She's an Israeli, and I'm working on that 4th book now.
Good for you. Okay, so and these are all novels. They're all suspenseful novels.
They're fiction. Yes,
fiction.
They're fiction based on some of the Mahdi is a true figure, and I use all the events are based on things that could happen, but it's fiction. It's not based on my life.
Good. Well, you've done a hell of a good job writing the one on your life already, so I think we're good with that. The name of the memoir is Daughter of Jerusalem, An American Woman's Journey of Faith. The author is Sharon Geyer, and it's Geyer. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. We could have talked for hours, and we just touched on it. So, yeah, go get it. You have to go buy it because there's a lot. This story's fascinating. Every time you turn the page, you're like, what? What are they doing to her now? What? It's like, you kind of like, oh. And I come from that world, so I know, you know. It was very good.
Well, I appreciate your response. What?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Sharon, thank you for taking the time on a Sunday night. We appreciate it very much. And God,
thank you, sir.
Say
and happy Hanukkah to all those. Tonight's the first night to light a candle. We light candles for Hanukkah, and then we also celebrate Christmas in our house.
I do them all too. So I do.
Good.
I will light a candle tonight. So actually, yes. And I have to say, Sharon, God bless you.
Thank you. And may God bless you and all the listeners.
Same here. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm going to wrap up. You can get off the line, but thanks for joining us. I love that. Great
Bye-bye.
show. Great show.
Bye.
Good night. Wow, guys. Sorry about the phone situation we're having. I'm going to apologize for that right off the bat because for some reason the calls are not joining, and I don't know if it was her cell or if it was not joining them, whatever. We have a whole new system starting in January, so I'm not going to worry about it too much because things are being revamped, and so is my website because somebody went on there today and said my store page has disappeared. So, but the whole thing has been revamped. So, and also I'll be doing a blog and webinars and all that on my website. So they're working on it. So if you experience technical difficulties, then just go have a drink or something. I don't know. It's like I'm so technologically challenged that it's not even funny. But I'm getting there, and they're all working on it. And I trust and have faith in God that this will all get worked out, and it will, so that you can actually talk to the caller when you call in like you used to be able to do. And we're going to fix it so that it's smooth and nobody gets lost and all that other stuff. But it was a great show regardless. Lovely show. Loved her. Sharon Geyer, Daughter of Jerusalem is the name of the book. You can find her on, she doesn't know the Facebook or the website, but you can get it on Amazon. I mean, and you can probably Facebook her if you want to. I am at servethassan.com, servethassan.com. You can email me there at servethassan.com. Everything you need to know about me is on the website when it's fixed, which it will be. So they're getting there. Actually, it's looking really good. It's looking much different and looking pretty good. They're just working out some kinks. In the meantime, we're going to go from there. So things are going to look really good next year. New shows, new equipment, new studio, all the whole bit. They're changing out the whole studio. And like I said, the podcasts will be more readily available of the shows. And you can find them on YouTube right now. My YouTube channel is Servet Hassan channel, but you'll be able to find those more easily and download those podcasts faster of all of these shows after they air. That'll happen next year as well. I'm looking forward to 2019. It's going to be an awesome, awesome year. In the meantime, keep the faith and know that you should be you to the full, because that is what's truly beautiful. That's what makes your life work. That's what makes it all happen. Happy Hanukkah and happy holidays. I have one more show next week, and then we're off the air. Next week it's all about the goddess, and then we're off the air till the following year. So take care and good night. Thank you for listening, everybody. I love you all. Be you to the full. That's what's beautiful. And good night.